Hi guys, it's Drew,
And Shannon.
and today we're going to go over different topics with Scarowinds and the Great Pumpkin Fest. Now that the holidays are over, seems like a good time to start talking about them. So Shannon, what are your overall thoughts about the Great Pumpkin Fest and Scarowinds this year?
I thought it was good, but comparing it to last year, I don't think it holds up.
Yeah, I kind of agree on that. It seemed way more populated this year than last year. I don't know if that's my imagination or not.
No, I agree. There were definitely a lot more people, and from what I saw, there were a lot more teenagers, which for me, as a 25-year-old, I didn't realize how little patience I had for for children and teenagers until Scarowinds. So
Yeah, when you're put shoulder to shoulder with them, it's a lot more noticeable.
yeah, but I mean, overall, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't. My experiences weren't as great as they were last year, and that could be due to things that Carowinds did, and it also could be due to the fact that I've done it before. This is my second year. Last year it was my first time going to Scarowinds, so it was a new thing for me. This year I was just basically going through the same mazes, and I didn't notice anything too drastically different.
I mean, they only subtracted a maze, they didn't add anything.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that I had an issue with this year is they seem to push people through the mazes at a much faster pace, which, it gets the line moving faster, which is great, but you don't get the full experience.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Like, it felt like this year the mazes were just pushing people straight through. The lines were much shorter. I think the maximum we waited this entire year was for Dark Harvest. That was like 45 minutes. But last year, I feel like we were waiting in line for 2 to 3 hours for each thing. But it was like a group of like 10 to 15 people versus a pretty much a steady flow of people.
Right. They really tried to push people through this year at a steady flow. There wasn't really a break in groups. And with that, you lost a lot of your storyline behind the haunted houses, mazes. I'm not sure what you would want to refer to them
I would
as.
say mazes.
Attractions.
The fright lanes, I think is what they're called.
So, you go in and you're expecting a little bit of backstory to the attraction, and you didn't really get that this year because they were just trying to get people through as fast as possible. And, honestly, most of the mazes felt too similar. Nothing really stood out to me. I I just didn't, find anything that was over the top. I will say the Dark Harvest is still one of my favorite.
Yeah, well, we'll get into the mazes a little bit later. But what was your favorite thing at Scarewinds this year?
One of my favorite things is, and I'm not sure what exactly it's called. Boneyard, is that what it is?
The area with all the zombies?
Um, they basically had put on a concert
Oh,
show.
Blood Yard.
Blood Yard.
Blood
That's
Yard.
what it is. So that's one of my favorite things. But this year they had kind of like an acrobatic show.
The Bone Crew, I think, or Skeleton Crew. There we go.
Skeleton Crew, and that was pretty entertaining. It was something new that they didn't have last year, and I didn't get to experience it, but I wish that we had done it at the beginning. When they first opened the park, they have all of the characters come out.
The actors for each of the different sections of the park. Yeah, they'll all come out with the Overlord, and then they spread out to whatever sections they're supposed to go to.
So I find that concept pretty cool. I wish we got to experience it, but maybe next year they'll do the same thing and we'll get to go.
Yeah, and you never even got to experience the Great Pumpkin Fest. I don't think you went a single time this year.
No, but I went last year, and I mean, it was fun last year. I know that this year they had, like, what was it, tractors?
Yeah, they like a little tractor section between
children?
hay bales.
Hay bales. Yeah, I thought that was a really cool concept that they introduced for the kids this year.
I'm starting to wonder if a lot of this stuff was there last year and we just didn't see it because we weren't really looking for it.
I don't know.
That was the only thing I know for a fact that was new and moved to a different section of the park because that's where the pumpkins used to be.
I'll be honest, the only reason that I really enjoy going to the pumpkin fest during the day is to get the free pumpkins.
Yeah,
So.
I feel like a lot of people do that. So my favorite part of Scarowinds this year. It's gonna sound really dumb, but it was that dragon in the medieval area, the Age of Darkness.
Oh no, I like that a lot too.
Yeah, the repurposed. I think it was Eugengosaurus or something like that.
Oh, the dinosaur, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. It's dumb, but just seeing how fast they were able to repurpose that from when Dinosaurs Alive got taken down, I just thought that was really cool. So Shannon, what was your least favorite thing in Scarowinds this year?
I'd say my least favorite thing, off the top of my head, would be this tiny section that they had by Panda Express where they set up bird cages, and there wasn't really much theming to it other than the bird cages. Occasionally you would see maybe like a person dressed up as a raven, but other than that, I wasn't really sure what concept they were going for.
I did see someone like doing like stories on stilts at one point, but that was literally the last day of Scarowinds, and I had no idea what was happening.
And we had gone maybe like 4, 5 other times prior to that, and we really never saw anything else happening in that tiny little section. So I'm hoping that next year they'll do a little bit more with it and expand.
So I think I have the obvious least favorite thing that you probably didn't think of, but the crowds. The crowds were horrible this year. Like, it was unbearable. I mean, every single thing was like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Nothing was walk on. You were pretty much shoulder to shoulder with people.
Well, that's for coasters.
Yeah, well, I'm saying everything. Everything was still at least 30 minutes, like the non-coasters.
Well, you mean the smaller rides?
Yeah, non-coasters.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the mazes, because those wait times were actually really good bearable this year, comparatively to last year.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons that the crowds were so bad. The mazes over probably the last few years have been, like, they've been absorbing the crowd, because if you have a line of like 3 hours worth of people, that's a really big commitment for the majority of these people. And if they're just trying to go through the mazes, like this is their only trip to Scarowinds, they're not going to ride a single coaster.
Right, and so this year with Carowinds pushing so many people through those haunted mazes, they're getting done with all of those in a much faster pace, and they're able to wait in line for coasters.
Yeah, like realistically, if you decided like, hey, I'm going to Scarowinds one night, this year it would probably take you only like 2.5 hours versus last year, which it more or less wasn't possible. It wasn't.
Right, and I don't think that we got to ride a single roller coaster or ride the several times that we went this year because the lines were so bad. So I'm hoping that next year, it won't be as bad. But, Charlotte is kind of a growing city. And with that comes, larger population to go to Carowinds. So
yeah, it's just strange because last year the lines were kind of bad. Like, they weren't literally record-breaking every night. Like, I can't stress that enough. Scarowinds brings in record-breaking numbers every single time. Like, this year, every Saturday seemed to break the record. I remember there's one Saturday where we straight up went and we couldn't get parking for like about an hour. And then we just ended up... Did we leave that night or did we actually go in?
No, we didn't even go.
Yeah, we just ended up leaving because it's like, I'm not waiting that long for everything. Like, if it takes that long just to get a parking space, like, imagine what it's like for the coasters.
Yeah, and one of the things that I saw a lot of were people who were actually buying tickets late at night.
Yeah, there were a lot of people actually buying tickets, like non-season pass holders.
Like, at very late hours. I don't recommend that because, with the wait time on the roller coasters and the other rides, you're really not going to get to enjoy it.
Unless you bought the Fast Plus.
Right, yeah.
The Fast Plus or whatever it's called. It's not...
The Fast Pass?
Maybe. I feel like that's Disney, though. It's Fastlane Plus. There you go.
Fastlane Plus.
Of course, legal reasons. But unless you bought that, if you were a person coming from out of town or you had to drive any distance, if you did not buy that, I would not recommend ever going to Scarowinds. Like, it's miserable.
Especially on a Saturday. Saturdays, in my opinion, are the worst days to go.
They are. Flat out. Like, it's better to go either Friday or Sunday. Friday's actually the best day, surprisingly. Mm-hmm. Going by numbers.
I agree.
So... yeah, crowds this year were pretty horrible.
Yeah, but, they even had to go as far as opening up their second gate.
Yeah, anytime that Southgate is open, you know that like the crowds are really bad.
Yeah, and that's on top of Carowinds just adding new parking spaces.
Which helped a lot, actually.
It did, but even, with that taken into consideration, parking was still hard to find.
Yeah, because we went the last day of Scarowinds, and it still took us, I want to say, 30, 40 minutes to get parking, because we didn't want to park all the way out at Southgate. Like, that's the only spots that were really open where you weren't fighting someone trying to get another spot. And they didn't have Southgate open. So you were literally going to walk, felt like half a mile maybe, just to get back to the actual entrance. So we waited for about 30 minutes and eventually got a pretty good spot. But
yeah, we got lucky.
yeah, but if you were out of town, that would literally ruin your entire experience. And I can't imagine doing that. Let's have a quick overview of each of the sections of Scarowinds, and we'll say if we like it or not. So let's start off with Bloodyard.
Like I said before, Bloodyard is one of my personal favorites, just because it has, the band that performs. And, the type of music that they play is somewhere between, rock and roll and electronica. Well, not even rock and roll.
It's, I don't know. I actually don't really like concerts, but I'll sit there and watch them.
Yeah, it's enjoyable. And, apart from that, there's not much else offered in that section, but that is one of the stronger points that it has, and it's one of the main reasons that I like to go over there.
Yeah, and if this wasn't clear, it's the vampire section. That's what the actors are trying to be. It's just a bunch of vampires. But it's one of my favorite sections, if not my favorite. It is the most well done. The only thing I absolutely hate with a passion in that area is the really loud bang that comes from one of the containers.
Oh yeah.
That thing drives me crazy. It hurts my ears every time I'm near it. Doesn't even scare me. It just makes me mad.
It's funny because you can almost hear it from our house.
You can hear it from our house. It's ridiculous. So let's move on to Carnival, the clown section. I don't know how to explain it. You got to do something with that section. It's very much like a carnival themed area. So putting clowns there, it feels natural. But the clowns aren't scary. I don't think they are, at least. It's just kind of annoying. They just go around honking horns in your ear.
I disagree. I personally do not like clowns. So for me, it is a little jarring to be over there. I've done better this year comparatively to last year. My fear of clowns it's not as bad this year. And I think the Scarowinds has helped a lot with that. with that. But overall, I'm not too impressed with it.
Yeah, it just feels like it's there. And I've seen multiple times where the actors will just follow people around and scream in their ears and stuff, and they constantly honking the horn in your ear, and it's just this isn't even scary. It's just annoying and frustrating.
Yeah, I agree. I think that probably is one of the reasons that it's not that scary to me, because it is more annoying than it is, it's not it or anything.
Yeah, it's just, I'm kind of surprised actually that we didn't see that at the clown section. I guess copyright reasons, but you would think.
Something similar.
Yeah, something similar. But let's move on to Dead Man's Landing, the pirate section. This is over by, what is this section? I think it's the county fair, is what it's called?
I think so.
Yeah, the county fair.
It's right there on the state line.
Yeah, it's over there by Electro Spin, right after Copperhead Strike and stuff like that. But this section, I think it's one of the coolest for theming, because they got the stalls out, and they got the people dressed as pirates running around, the mermaids at the fountain. I don't know if you actually ever saw that.
I think I did the first night that we went, but I don't remember it clearly in my mind. Honestly, I think that this section is so small.
It is very small.
Every time I go through it, I feel like I'm out of it instantly. But some of the props that they do have are nice. They even have half of a ship.
Yeah, they have a ship split in half, over there by the funnel cakes and fries and stuff.
Yeah, so the props, I do like the props, but the section is very small, so you don't really get to enjoy it very much.
Yeah, and the Buccaneer Cannon, I hate that thing too.
Oh yeah.
It's not as bad. It's not as bad as the container, but it's still annoying. Next, we have Fleet Street. This is over by Intimidator. on your way to like the Panda Express or Camp Snoopy. This is like, I don't know, an evil Britain. I don't even know really how to describe
Well,
it.
I think it's supposed to be like a Sweeney Todd
There you go.
thing.
That's probably what it is.
But, you know, I think this one has the most iconic props for me whenever I go to Scarowinds, but that's just because my first year there, this was literally the props that they used at the very front of the park.
That's very true. And like when I think of Scarowinds, that is the first thing I think of is Fleet Street, because you have to go through it pretty much to get anywhere else that matters.
I mean, overall, I like the theming and I like the characters, but basically it is just a pass through.
Yeah, you're through it literally within, I would say, like 6 seconds. Like, you just walk straight through it. And I hate it for the fact that it's basically completely covered in fog. And because of that, you barely even see anything. Like, you can see it whenever the wind's blowing and the fog is getting blown away. But otherwise, you're basically walking straight through the fog. And maybe that's what it's supposed to be. Because industrial Britain, coal smoke and all that, I don't know. But the actors will pop out of nowhere, so you can get a scare out of that. But,
oh yeah, it's definitely a good section to get a scare out of.
Yeah, and maybe because of how short it is, that kind of increases the tension, because you just got to get through. You got to get through and not be one of the people they pick to jump at.
I agree. Yeah.
It's not my favorite, but
I'd say actually it's probably like my second or third favorite.
that's fair. Next up, we have Age of Darkness. This is like the medieval themed section, and this is between over there by, I want to say it's Cloudseeker, Windseeker. There we go, Windseeker and Nighthawk, around that area. And this is a new one. This wasn't there last year.
I didn't think it was.
Yeah, it wasn't.
This is again like my second or third favorite. I think they did a really good job with the theming and the props.
That dragon though.
Yeah, I love that dragon. They didn't have it the first night that we went, but I think like
they put it in like, I want to say 2 weeks into Scarowinds. It was kind of weird that they just randomly added it, but maybe they were still working on it.
Yeah, that's probably one of my, like we said at the beginning, is one of the best props that they have there, other than maybe the troll. But
yeah, which was actually working this year. I was shocked by that.
Yeah.
The whole section's just basically like medieval times, people running around with the plague. You got some wizards, evil sorcerers, evil jesters. Yeah, evil jesters. And like it's got torture devices and stuff strung through it. I don't think there was any knights. There might have been 1 or 2.
Maybe 1 or 2.
I can't remember hardly. Like the section is surprisingly long.
It is.
It's one of the longest ones.
I'm just going off of memory, but are they trying to imitate crossing a bridge?
I don't think so. I think it's just they were trying to fill that section because there wasn't really anything there last year. So they just have all those people and props and stuff just in between, and there's not really anywhere to go except like straight. Like it's a pretty narrow section, going from where Intimidator is over to Nighthawk and then Windseeker. So you pretty much have to go straight through it. I'd say it's one of the better ones. One of the better sections.
I agree. Yeah, I say that Bloodyard is one of my favorites, and that's just solely for the music. But this, like I said, is right up there, especially, since they didn't have it last year. It's something new.
Yeah. And let's move on to the Grave Walkers, the zombie section. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably one of the most forgettable ones.
Yeah, I don't even remember it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this is the one. There were like tombstones, and there was a lot of fog. There were zombies. This is over by the coaster with the mahi on it. What is it called? Ricochet. There you go, Ricochet. The mouse coaster.
Oh.
Yeah. This is kind of proving a point by how forgettable it is. This was one of the other new sections, I believe.
Okay, well, I'd love to see them do a little bit more with it. Just, because the concept of zombies walking around, I feel like that could really easily scare
a lot of people. Like that was probably one of the biggest jumps I've seen out of anyone was over there in Gravewalkers, because somebody was hiding in one of the tombs and somebody wasn't paying attention, just walking by, and they had a guy dressed as a zombie just sprint at this man, just sprint at him as fast as they could, screaming at him. This person just was gone. I didn't see him anymore. The fog was like following this person. It was wonderful.
It was a perfect scare.
Yeah, it was perfect. But beyond that, like,
it's not very memorable.
I was gonna say, if it wasn't for that instance, I would have forgotten about it too.
Yeah.
So a lot of work needs done on that, especially since they got rid of the...
I'd love to see more work done to it. I think it would be a really big hit.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that this one's so forgettable when they used to have another maze that was based off a zombie high school. I want to say it was Zombie High or something.
Oh, yeah. I remember that last year.
Yeah, and now it's just like a little tiny section. And to be fair, it is more or less converted into the Camp Snoopy. I think it's Cleaver High. So they kind of took it from Scarowinds and put it into Camp Snoopy. So very forgettable section of the park. So let's move on to Outlaws Revenge, the Cowboys, Old West style section.
Yeah, this one didn't really hit home for me. It's very forgettable. I thought that the costumes were very similar to, I think, honestly, they were similar to no, not the Colonial. I don't know. They didn't stand out. Like...
Yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't see the actors hardly ever.
Maybe that's
They
what
were
it was.
super rare. Like, I saw them one time doing their, like... To be fair, this section does have the best scare out of the random actors. Is the like, skating one, where they slide on their knees and arms, and then they have, like, the flint on them. And it causes everything, like, to be super loud, and it scares the heck out of people.
Last year, they had those actors placed in
Everywhere.
section.
They were in the very front of the park, actually. They weren't. This one must be new, too, because otherwise they would have had them over there.
I don't know.
I'll have to double check on that, but it was... I don't want to say forgettable, because it actually, like, I like the prop, the, like, saloon in the middle and all that. That was cool.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That's honestly the only thing that really stood out, though. I mean,
because it's on fire, and, like, this section's, like, right over there by Chick-fil-A. So, like, it's a pretty small section right by Boo Blasters and stuff. It's one of the mediocre sections. I wasn't super fond of it. I assume you weren't either.
I mean, if I could remember it, it wasn't memorable for me.
Yeah, no, I'm about to throw one at you that I will be shocked if you even know what it is. The Hollow.
I think I vaguely remember that.
Do you have any idea where it was or what its theming was?
Is that where they keep all the pumpkins?
Yeah, it's the pumpkin section with a few of the, like, colonial people wandering around. It is, I want to say, the most forgettable because all there really is theming wise is the pumpkins. That's more or less it.
Oh, that's a little sad.
Yeah, I mean, like, the pumpkins are really cool. I like the designs on the pumpkins.
It's definitely a good photo opportunity. They have kind of a little wall of pumpkins where you can definitely get a good photo.
Yeah, but beyond that, it was pretty much nothing. I think the coolest thing over there is the troll. I don't even technically consider that, like, part of the Hollow, though.
Yeah, but the troll definitely grabs your attention. It's something that you want to gravitate toward and see what he has to say. So.
You gotta get that video. Yeah, with the troll. But yeah. So, I mean, that's all the sections. Do you think they really need to improve, or is it, like, acceptable?
I mean, it's definitely acceptable. I think that they could expand on, they could definitely expand on Outlaws Revenge. Dead Man's Landing is great. I like it. But maybe...
There are several sections that need some work.
Ixnay the loud booms.
Yeah, get rid of the booms. I know it's supposed to scare people, but it just hurts my ears.
Yeah.
I sound like such an old person, though.
Well, just a bit.
Yeah, but out of all the sections, I think Bloodyard, Fleet Street, Age of Darkness, they're wonderful. I think that the Hollow, Outlaws Revenge, and Grey Walkers really need some work. The other sections are fine. They're just, like, they're there. But those three, they need some work. There's plenty to improve on, and hopefully they get to doing that next year.
Well, even Carnival needs a little bit of work, too.
Yeah, Carnival could do some work, too, but... Hey, I mean, you can't be too critical on them. I'm just happy they have some theming to the sections.
Alright.
So next, the big attraction at Scarowinds. So we got the mazes. And the line, like we said earlier, lines weren't that bad for these, so you were able to get through all of them in one go. So you could have experienced all 5 of them. Now, we'll start off with Silver Scream Studio Condemned. Thoughts?
I thought this one was a lot better comparatively to last year. I still don't rank it very high. Honestly, I think it's at the bottom of my list still. But compared to last year, they did increase the number of props that they used.
Yeah, the props got better a lot.
Yeah, and, I don't know if it was just me, but it seemed longer.
I don't think it has gotten longer. I think it's the same length, but it feels longer because there's so many more props and you're actually stopping to look at them instead of just walking straight through.
It is a good maze if you want to just, appreciate the props that they have used.
Yeah.
I actually did, stop and take in what was
a few
up.
times, actually. I was kind of surprised by that because last year it was so uneventful. It just felt like it was there. It was definitely the worst one, I think, last year by a landslide.
I still think it might be the worst one this year, but we'll move down the list.
Yeah, but the disparity between 4th and 5th is nowhere near as drastic as last year.
Oh no, last year there wasn't much to it at all. And it's hard to be afraid with the storyline that they're going with for this maze.
I think this one feels like the least scary by a mile. Like, if you were unsure of which one to start with, this would have been the one. Like, if you were worried about it being too scary, like, I don't feel like I got even jump scared a single time.
Yeah, so I definitely, if you're scared easily, I would start with this one.
Yeah. But then next up we have Urgent Scare. I straight up can't hardly remember anything about this. This is the first one we did this year, and I was super excited. We missed it last year. It was the only one I didn't get to go through. And I cannot remember a single thing about this because I thought it would be the one that scared me. I'm afraid of needles. Thought this would be perfect. Nothing.
Maybe that's why we don't remember those, because we went through it first.
I don't think that's the reason. I remember which one we went through first last year. I remember everything about them last year. But this one, I don't remember anything about it hardly.
And again, that might circle back to the fact that, they're pushing you through these mazes so quickly that you don't really get to take in what's happening. You're just filtering through.
Yeah, actually, that really is a lot of it, to be fair. It makes me sad because there's probably plenty to appreciate in there, and you don't even have the time to do that.
Let's move on to Dark Harvest. What did you think about that one?
Dark Harvest is probably, I would say, either the best or the second best. It is always fun. Last year, to be fair, it was the only one with an actual maze. Like, you could get lost in it. Like, you could take some wrong turns and stuff, because they would only have 10 people going through, so it wasn't an issue if you took a wrong turn and then you had to turn around and go a little bit back. This year, it's not a maze. Like, it's an actual, like, you go straight through it, here's the actors, etc. It's still good, though. Like, you're not going to see the actors half the time, because they're very well camouflaged.
Yeah, this is the one that, the only one that really scared me last year, and, that was just because, what are they called, a ghillie suit?
I don't know, honestly.
They're the suits that you wear when you're hunting. They're covered in leaves, and
yeah,
the actors dress up in those, and they're hidden very well. So definitely one of the few moments that I got scared last year. This year, same thing. I didn't notice too much that had changed from last year to this year.
Yeah, besides the wrong turns being removed and a few props being moved slightly differently. It's the exact same.
But it's still held up. It's still probably... No, it is my favorite maze that they have at CArowinds. Well, Scarowinds.
So, next we have Slaughterhouse, the final cut. This one, it's fun. I think some of the props are very well done.
I appreciate the detail on the sign out front.
Yeah, I love that, how it constantly changes to, like, is it dead? Well, I can't remember what it flashes, but I love how it flashes that, like, little symbol and, like, this stuff, yeah. And, like, this one has one of the better stories out of all of them. So, like, if you actually go back and read on CArowinds' website and stuff, like, what the story is, I actually like this one. They have one prop in there that I specifically remember, and I've always enjoyed it, is they have like the buzzsaw going where they're like cutting the meats and stuff like that, and they have one actor who's like halfway up through it, but then they have like a prop where it's like this lower half of their body, and they're like getting cut up by that saw. I've always thought that was like one of the coolest props that they have at Scarowinds.
I'll definitely have to look out for that next year. I don't remember it.
It's on the left at one point, but it is very well done, and if the actor's sitting there just screaming, it is. I love it. It looks so cool, and it's almost realistic. And that's one of the major problems I have with a lot of these. They don't feel real. And I don't know if they're going for that or not, but it just kind of ruins the appeal to me a little bit.
So let's move on to Depth of Darkness. This is one that we had to circle back and I think do twice, didn't we?
No, we only did it once. Yeah, this year the line wasn't nearly as bad.
Well, that is with all of them, but
this one particularly had the worst line by a landslide last year. Like,
yeah.
This one was a 3 hour. I think it was a 3.5 hour wait for us the first time we went.
I wonder if it's just due to placement.
Maybe. It's over there by Camp Snoopy, and it's kind of hidden away comparatively to all the other mazes. Like, you have to really go out of your way to get to that one, because nothing else is open in Camp Snoopy at that time. But I think this one has the best story, best theming all over. I think this is the best maze out of all of them by a landslide. Like, nothing's comparable. The story behind it, wonderful. Psycho Killer, they have the TVs going with the news broadcasters. This one feels like they put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, I get that. This year we didn't really get to experience that in its entirety. Just
because you're getting pushed through. They barely have the TVs going. The majority of the story is completely taken away from you. Like, last year, for example, when you got into the first room, they would explain to you, like, this is what you're doing. You're going to go inside the mind of this, like, serial killer to find his victim so that you can save the ones that are left over. And they would explain that to you, and you see the guy, like, convulsing and stuff like that, and it's really sad that they got rid of that entirely to be able to push people through this year.
I feel like a lot of the stories were just lost due to that, and I agree, it is disheartening, but you gotta compromise, I guess, somewhere.
Yeah, I guess they just wanted people to be able to experience the mazes in some way, shape, or form, regardless of the quality.
So, what was your favorite maze this year?
Depth of Darkness. Still my favorite. Like, the props are still very well done. The story is still there, but now you actually have to do a lot more research to know what it is. Some of the props, that's the only one that genuinely, like, freaks me out a little bit, because just there's certain scenes in there that are, like, too realistic for me. Like, they make me uncomfortable.
I'm still going to stick with my favorite being Dark Harvest, and it might be just because it's one of the few that can manage to get a scare out of me still, and that's just, due to jump scares.
Hey, it counts.
It does, and it works. So what was your least favorite maze?
That's a good question. It's either Silver Scream Studio or Urgent Scare. Urgent Scare was so forgettable, but, like, I can't fault it on anything because I can't remember it.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I think my least favorite is still Silver Scream Studio.
I could see that, yeah, because it's not scary.
Yeah.
It's just like you're going through. It's supposed to be like the director is killing people to make movies where no one else has done it before, killing actors while they're performing, and the building's burning down while you're going through it because you're trespassing. But, like, none of it's scary. Like, oh, there's some spiders. Ooh, there's an Egyptian tomb. Ooh, rainforest. Like, all these movie props, they're not scary. It's just there.
Yeah.
So, if you had to recommend, like, a maze or, like, something to improve on with these mazes at Scarowinds right now, what would you recommend?
I guess just trying to find a balance between, quality experience and, being mindful of your customers' time, getting them through the lines in an adequate amount of time. You still want them to be able to fully experience and be immersed into the stories that you're creating, but you also have to consider that they need to experience other parts of Scarowinds. I guess just trying to find a balance between the two.
Yeah, and I totally agree. There's got to be some kind of balance, like maybe 25 people or 30 people go in at a time, and then you wait like that 5 minutes or whatever to let them go through and spend a little bit of time. Like, half the jump scares in these things, they didn't even have them for me because, like, the person I could see the person jump scaring them up ahead, and when they tried to do it to me, I was like, I already know you're there. That didn't happen last year.
But honestly, improving upon the sections within the park, like Carnival, Outlaws Revenge, The Hollow, if those are expanded upon, that could draw people to those areas more and maybe away from the mazes. I'm sure that there's something that can be
maybe add a new maze, because they took away a maze this year. Like, the high school zombies, like, that actually drew people away. They didn't have that this year. And, like, they could replace it with something. There's got to be something they can put there.
Well, I guess we'll see next year.
Hopefully, yeah. Maybe they'll even turn the Dinosaurs Alive section into something next year.
Or maybe a ride.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't think it'll be a ride for at least a few more years.
So, is there anything that you would like to see Scarowinds have that they don't right now?
So, the thing that I want to see, and it might be strange, but I want to see werewolves. Like, more werewolves. It's kind of strange to me that there's no section dedicated to werewolves, because it got the vampires, it got zombies. Where's the werewolves? Or even, like, Frankenstein. Just some, like, stereotypical monsters. There's got to be, like, a section for it. And it's weird that you can have all the other stereotypes, so you're missing this one in particular. There's got to be something. There's got to be. Maybe Camp Snoopy specifically, you could have the werewolf section. So, if you had to choose, what would you add?
Honestly, one of my favorite things, no matter what, a Halloween-themed attraction that I'm going to, I like a good old-fashioned haunted house.
Yeah, they don't have anything to do with ghosts besides boo blasters, but, like, no one's terrified of boo blasters.
Yeah, that's something I would just love to see. But other than that, I mean, just, maybe improve upon what they currently have before adding new things, though,
I feel like you gotta add new things before you can really start improving the other sections, because, like, what are you really gonna do with some of them? Some of them are about as scary as they can get. They're, like, very, like, niche things that people are scared of. You can add these sections just to add to the flavor of everything else they already have.
I can see that.
Yeah. But overall, I think Scarowinds was very well done this year. There are some problems. I want to say it's a little bit worse than last year, but they're working on it. They're adding sections. They're testing things out. I think next year will be even better.
I think so too, and I'm really looking forward to see what they do and what improvements that they make.
Yeah. So here's to next year.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.